Hey everybody, this is Anthony with VR Game Rankings. Welcome to another episode of our daily vlog series. It is Friday, December 22nd. This is episode 59. And I'll tell you what, we don't have a ton of stories today. There isn't a ton on the docket. However, later in the show, I thought I could get into a little bit of Game of the Year discussion. Now, not specifically what my games of the year are. We're going to get into that next week. But I thought I would kind of take you on a little behind the scenes process of how I'm trying to kind of break down the games of the year and basically what is the group of games that should be considered. So not really going to get into like specific slotting of the various games, but just kind of like what is the group of games that should probably get some legitimate consideration. So we're going to get into that on the back half of the show, but I do have a few news stories to get into. So let's go ahead and jump into those right now. Okay, so the very first story that we have is the first death in VR. Yeah, this is not exactly how you want to start off a news program, but this is news. This is the first time that we've heard that there has been a confirmed death that has been related to VR. Now, this is apparently in Moscow, Russia. A 44-year-old man suffered fatal wounds while he was moving around his apartment in virtual reality glasses. Now, apparently he tripped, landed on a glass table, the table shattered, and in the process of all of this happening, he suffered some tremendous wounds and died from a loss of blood. I mean, this is a real tragic story. First of all, we got to say, look, our hearts go out to the family of this guy, to anybody that knowed this guy. I mean, this is a terrible way to go out. I mean, it's a very horrible way to go out. And so that's first and foremost. Now, the biggest thing with this, though, is like, I'm kind of surprised that it took this long for a death to take place in VR. And why do I say that? Because I mean, here's the thing. People die in all kinds of ways. It's just unbelievable how many ways people could possibly exit stage left, if you will. People die all the time. They die doing crazy things. And this doesn't mean that VR is in any kind of danger or being outlawed or anything like this. This isn't even the kind of VR death that I think a lot of us were thinking. I think a lot of us thought that maybe some 78-year-old man might put a VR headset on, play some crazy-ass horror game, and he might have a heart attack and die. That was probably the more likely scenario that everybody thought. But this is a little bit different. This guy, 44 years old, he didn't suffer from any kind of a heart attack or anything. What happened is he fell into this glass table, and I'm guessing that the glass probably, like, maybe it cut like his jugular vein or something, because how could he lose that much blood so fast that he couldn't do anything about it and he died? I mean, just absolutely terrible. Now, does this have any long-term ramifications on the VR gaming industry? Well, not really, I don't think, because I know all of the major companies that are involved in VR, they all had to know that something like this would happen, and I don't think this is going to be the last death that is going to result, not from VR, but it's going to be related to VR. And the reason I mention this is, well, I can talk way back a long time ago. I remember when do you guys remember when Oculus wasn't really into room scale? I mean, at the very beginning, like when the whole Oculus thing first kind of came out, like it took them a while to come over to the side of, yeah, room scale is an okay thing. We can actually do room scale. And I remember back in those days, I used to think that Oculus was basically scared to death of lawsuits. And my theory is that Oculus probably looked at HTC and looked at Steam and thought, these guys are crazy. They're really going to let people walk all around a room with their heads completely obscured, you know, their eyes obscured, and their hearing taken over with headphones, and you're going to be walking all around a room and pretending you're in a holodeck. These people are out of their minds. They're going to let people do that. That's kind of what I thought Oculus was thinking, that is just a lawsuit waiting to happen. And one of the reasons I kind of thought that is, you think about the different situations, the different kinds of houses and stuff that people have. You could have a situation where somebody has an upstairs like loft kind of a situation where they go upstairs and they have an open area upstairs, and there's a railing, and they have this open area. And what if they set up like an HTC Vive room scale setup in this open area? But what if somebody wandered off way too far? They hit the railing, they're wearing a headset, they're wearing headphones, they topple over the railing, they fall down to the floor below, and if you hit your head the wrong way, you hit your neck the wrong way, it could be game over right there. And that's something that could absolutely happen. There's lots of ways for this to go bad. You trip. I know a story, actually, a buddy of mine, a guy that I went to high school, right? He got into an argument with this guy, got into a fight with him, okay? He punched the guy. The guy fell back, and you know those parking spaces, like those blocks for when you park your car? The guy fell back and hit his head on one of those cement blocks. The guy died. And my buddy was basically, he went to jail for like manslaughter or something. I mean, he just punched the guy. It was nothing. If this happened in a park and he punched the guy in the park and the guy just fell and hit the ground, he's not going to be dead. But see, that's the thing. So you could be in your house and you could trip and fall. If you hit some type of very heavy, solid object that is not moving, and you're moving in the right speed and with the inertia and all of that, you hit your head, you could be a goner. And that type of stuff can happen in VR. And it's really quite surprising that this is the very first VR death. It really is quite surprising, but I don't know that anything is going to really result from this. What I am curious to find out is, will we find out what VR product this person was using? Like, were they using an Oculus Rift? Were they using an HTC Vive? Was it a Gear VR? Was it some little knockoff VR headset? Why does any of this matter? Well, it matters because let's say it was an Oculus Rift, for example. If it was an Oculus Rift, it's possible that the family of this guy could try to sue Oculus over this death, and they could call it some type of wrongful death. They could say that Oculus is responsible because they didn't do a good enough job making sure that this guy would stay in his area. There's not enough warnings. I mean, who knows what they could get into as far as that. And now this is happening in Russia, and so their legal system is a lot different than what we have over here. Now, if this had happened in the United States, or if this happened in Canada or England or in Western European countries, I could see maybe a lawsuit might be a little bit more likely. I don't know exactly how things work in Russia, so I'm not sure that we're going to end up with a lawsuit out of this. But I mean, this is a worry that we're going to have going forward, because someone is going to die in America or Canada or something like that. And they are going to, the family is going to try to sue. That's going to happen. And the worry I have there is that companies like Facebook and companies like HTC Vive and Steam and Valve and all these different companies, they're going to want to protect their bottom line, and they're going to want to cover their ass. And so what that could mean to us long term is that we might have to deal with so many little warning symbols and warning signs, and the guardian and the chaperone and all of these kinds of things might get even worse than they are. And what we might have to do as hardcore enthusiast gamers is we might have to basically go in and turn that stuff off manually, like use hacks to turn that stuff off, because there might be so many warnings, so many little end user license agreement type things that you have to agree to even get into a VR game, because of the fear of possible lawsuits. So that is interesting, the first VR death. Okay, next story I have is, now this is kind of a story I'm coming up with myself. Now this is Magic Leap, the 2 cable controversy. So we had the show about Magic Leap, obviously, the other day, and we got into a lot of Magic Leap stuff. But this is something I was thinking about yesterday. Now, when you see the picture of the headset, you clearly see that there are 2 wires coming from it. Okay, and then if you read the Rolling Stone article, which I highly recommend, once again, Brian Crescente thought he did an outstanding job for Rolling Stone and Glixel with that article. Go ahead and read that if you haven't. But if you read that entire article, he mentions that there's one wire going from the lightware, the glasses, to the light pack, which is basically the CPU, the processor, the GPU, the laptop, Alienware laptop that has been shrunk down into a puck size and put on your waist or on a shoulder strap or something like that, right? Okay, but if you look at the pictures that Magic Leap has allowed out there, some of them clearly, very clearly show two wires coming out of it. And then also, if you look at that one picture that was leaked a long time ago where this guy was like testing some stuff out and it showed the back of Magic Leap, it clearly shows two wires coming out of that. And of course, you're going to see these pictures on the side of me as I'm talking about this. And what I think is going on here is I think one of these wires is going to the light pack. I think another wire is going to a battery pack. And I don't know that this is something that we've been made aware of. I don't know that anyone knows that there is a battery pack. Okay, I mean, obviously there has to be a battery. It's not in the headset itself. You can just tell by looking at the headset, the battery is not in there. The headset is too thin, too small. There'd be too much heat coming off of it. That wouldn't work. And then if you look at that light pack thing, that thing is too small to have an Alienware type of laptop capabilities along with a battery pack as well. I don't see it. So what I think that other wire is for is I think it's for a separate battery pack. So I think this is something that will probably be revealed later on down the road when they're closer to actually shipping maybe the first batches of these things to people that are going to test it out. I mean, they're eventually going to have to come out with this, but this could be a bit of a Debbie Downer for the whole Magic Leap thing, because it's bad enough that you're going to have to clip something to your belt, you know, for this light pack idea. But if you're also clipping a battery somewhere else, if you have two different items that you're clipping onto you, at some point it's like, wait a minute, what are we doing here? Now, I know they made the headset really nice and small and sleek and incredibly lightweight, and that is super awesome. But if we're going to be strapping all these things around us, I mean, how does that work? How does that all add up? So I don't know that that is the best idea there, really. So, but anyway, you guys can go ahead and argue with me on this one if you'd like to, because I don't know. Maybe there's been some more information that has been released, but I feel like there has to be some kind of battery pack somewhere, and I don't think the other shoe has dropped from that standpoint. And the other question you have to ask yourself is, at what point are you strapping too many things onto you and it's just not worth all the effort? When do we get to that point? Because it's almost like you're strapping all this stuff. You got a guitar strap, you know, you got all these different straps all over the place. I mean, are you going to war? Are you going into battle and you're strapping yourself down? It's almost like you're a police officer and you got a gun strapped here and you got another device strapped over here. I mean, it's kind of a little bit ridiculous. So kind of curious how that will all shake out. Okay, next story we got is To the Top is $15 right now on Steam. This is a sale. To the Top is one of the better VR games that has released in the year 2017. This is a game that is going to be considered, I think, for some people as Game of the Year. That might sound a little bit crazy, but I know it doesn't sound crazy to my boy Mame Fan. It's one of his favorite games, but absolutely To the Top is one of the better games and it's on sale. It's a great deal. Don't know how long this sale is going to actually last. $15. I think this is great. To me, it's like Sonic the Hedgehog or Arrow the Acrobat, except you're Sonic or you're Arrow the Acrobat, and you are blazing through these levels, these obstacle courses, if you will, basically jumping, grabbing, pulling yourself, jumping along to get to the end goal. And really what it is it's pretty much about shaving seconds off your time. This is all, it's like a racing game, really, and you're just constantly trying to improve your time. And it's all these different levels, and the different levels have different approaches that you want to take, and you're just constantly trying to shave off your time and get your time faster. And you always just want to play one more round. You know, you just want to try it again, try it again, try it again. You might go into To the Top and you might think you're only going to play this game for, 25 minutes. And then it's like an hour and 25 minutes later, you're like, man, this is all I've been playing. I didn't mean to do this. So anyway, that's to the top. Another game that is on sale is the Talos Principle VR. The Talos Principle VR right now is $20. It's half price. And this has been on sale. I didn't actually mention this a while back because I thought the sale would be over, but I checked on it and it's still live. So I don't know how long this is going for, but the Talos Principle VR, this is another major Game of the Year contender, and it's $20. That's a steal, especially considering the incredible length of the game. There is so many levels. I mean, we talked yesterday about these $19.99 games that they're not going to hold you over. They're not going to like satisfy you. The Talos Principle VR can hold you over. You can play this for months. I mean, there's so much stuff that is involved in the Talos Principle VR to be able to play that. So definitely check out those two deals. Okay, let's see. The last regular story that I have really is that the House of Secrets, they made a thing called Surge, which is like this music video. Well, they have a game coming out that what was supposed to come out in the fourth quarter of this year for the Oculus Rift. This game called Kin, K-I-N. It's a platformer. Now, the game just released for the Gear VR, and it's coming to the Oculus Rift in January. So this was delayed a little bit, supposedly a fourth quarter release. Like I've said before, if you don't have a date, if you don't have a firm locked in date, or if you're not already available, you're not a fourth quarter release. We know this. All these games are being delayed. Ken is a upcoming platformer kind of a game, a third-person platforming game. This is probably a game where you're going to be sitting down and you're going to be using the Xbox controller to control it, but it looks beautiful, looks gorgeous, looks awesome. I'm the type of guy, I can play these games. I can play Lucky's Tale. I can play Bound on PlayStation VR. I can play a lot of these third-person games, Theseus and Bloody Zombies and games like that. And Kin looks really good. It looks absolutely beautiful. We don't have a ton of screenshots, a ton of video on it, but it looks really good. So this game will be coming in January, so definitely looking forward to that. And if you guys have never tried Surge, absolutely try Surge. It's like a free music video. It's really cool. These are the guys that are doing Kin, so definitely looking forward to that. One quick little announcement I have is Monday. So Monday is Christmas Day. Now, we're still going to have a show on Christmas Day, but I will let you guys know it is going to be taped in advance. So basically this weekend, I'm going to go ahead and tape a show. And what I'm going to do is I've decided that I'm going to take 8 minutes and cover each of the 3 primary platforms, PlayStation VR, Oculus Rift, HTC Vive. And I'm basically going to take 8 minutes to kind of basically talk about the state of that platform and what's going on with that platform, where it's going, what kind of grade does it have for 2017, how did this platform do in 2017, what does it look like for the future. I'm going to spend 8 minutes on each of the 3 big platforms, and so that will be coming Monday. So look forward to that on Monday, but it won't be your regular normal show. I hope people kind of understand. It is Christmas Day, by the way, so I hope you guys understand that. Okay, so we're done with all of the normal stuff here, and so what I thought I would do with the last 6-7 minutes or so that we have here is give you a little bit of thoughts on the game of the year and the game of the year contenders, really. So we're doing an award show for VR Roundtable. Probably our next episode, I would imagine, is going to be our Game of the Year awards, where we're going to go over all the different platforms. We're going to have different, most disappointing game, most surprising game, all kinds of stuff like that, right? So you'll be able to look forward to that, the VR Roundtable episode. And then VR Game Rankings will also do some Game of the Year stuff, probably later next week, where it's just pretty much my picks, really, for all these different categories. And so working on that, trying to figure out what games are, what games should enter into this discussion. So what I did was I made a list basically of a bunch of games that I feel like these games have to be considered. If you're thinking about Game of the Year, these are games that are going to be considered. And so I'm not going to talk about like what order I put these games in or anything like that, but I'm just going to kind of give you a general breakdown of some of the most incredible games that we have in VR that were released in 2017. All of these are 2017 releases, and I'm looking at this list here. I believe I have more than 20 games. I mean, more than 20 games. And now all of these I'm not really considering for Game of the Year. I put them into two different tiers. So I'll go ahead and start off Tier 1. All these games, these are absolute contenders in my personal opinion for Game of the Year. Skyrim VR, absolute contender. Lone Echo, Robo Recall, Resident Evil 7, the Talos Principle VR, Fallout 4 VR, Zing, The Land Beyond, and Heart of the Emberstone. That is my Tier 1. These are the elites, okay? These are the absolute elite games. Let's see, I have 8 games in this category, and basically any of these 8 games, you grab any one of these 8 games, you are getting a surefire major hit, like an absolute cream of the crop type of hit here. Skyrim VR, easily one of the best PSVR games, no question about that. Resident Evil 7, also one of the best PSVR games. Those are both in this top 8. And then we can look at a couple of Oculus-specific games. Lone Echo, Robo Recall. Hey, we forget about Robo Recall. Robo Recall was March. Don't sleep on Robo Recall. That could be Game of the Year. Lone Echo absolutely could be Game of the Year. And then I've got Fallout 4 VR on this list. Now, somebody might think I'm crazy. Fallout 4 VR, it's got all these ridiculous problems. Yeah, it does. It does have all these ridiculous problems. But don't sleep on the fact that you could get into Fallout 4, and if everything is working right, you could just melt into this story and melt into this environment, and you just get lost and you just get enraptured in the whole thing, similar to Skyrim. I mean, it's basically the same type of thing. It's just Skyrim or Fallout. I mean, one of them might be a little bit more your flavor, but man, I mean, with all the problems that Fallout 4 VR has, it's still in the mix, no question about it. Some of you guys might say, Zing, The Land Beyond, what is this? Well, Zing, The Land Beyond is one of the most surprising releases of 2017. I don't think there's any question about it. This game came out of nowhere. I knew about this game. I knew of this game, but did I think I would be considering it as a possible Game of the Year? Hell no. And it came pretty much out of nowhere. Zing, The Land Beyond, incredible. The Talos Principle VR, just talked about that. That's on sale for $20. Outstanding. Heart of the Emberstone, another game with a ton of problems. Loading times up the yin-yang. Lots of arbitrary situations with some of the puzzles where you're kind of banging your head. Lots of backtracking, which is kind of irritating to say the least. But the graphics, the sound, Heart of the Emberstone might have the best sound design of any game in 2017, bar none. Graphics are incredible. Production value is incredible. This is another one of these games, when it's working right, it's one of the best games we got in VR, period. If you can get past the loading times and all that other stuff, it's phenomenal. Okay, so that's Tier 1. These are the cream de la creme, basically. Now you go to Tier 2, I want to give all these games a shout out because I got to give them a shout out. The Mage's Tale. How quickly we forget about The Mage's Tale. The Mage's Tale is an outstanding game. Artica 1, the Michael Bay of VR games. Sure, it doesn't do everything we wanted it to do, but damn, is it gorgeous and beautiful. Gorn. Gorn officially came out in 2017, and Gorn might have the best physics, the best hit detection of any VR game out there. No question about it. Carnage Chronicles, another underrated game that we weren't really keeping track of in a big way, but man, Carnage Chronicles is a really good game. To the Top, which is on sale right now. To the Top, outstanding game. That has to get considered. Farpoint for PlayStation VR. I haven't played it, so that's part of the reason I'm not putting that into Tier 1. Maybe it is a Tier 1 game. Killing Floor Incursion. I still feel like this game was awesome. I know a lot of people don't really put it up into that category. Organ Quarter. Organ Quarter, now the combat is lame, but man, everything else, the atmosphere is just off the chain link fence. Dead Effect 2 VR. Really good, very visceral, very good graphics, kind of like a Doom 3 VFR, but I mean Doom 3 BFG, but more polish and more dialed in, more finely tuned. Archangel, great underrated game. I know it's on rails, but I love the story. I love the special effects that Archangel brings. Super Hot, now on PSVR. Okay, so Super Hot is a 2017 release on PlayStation VR, and it's an incredible port. It's a great port. I've played Super Hot on PSVR, and it's amazing how close it is to playing this game on the Vive or the Rift. It's almost like you don't notice much of a difference. That is incredible. Megaton Rainfall, another surprising game on PSVR. So all those games are in my tier 2. They don't really, like, I don't think any of these games really jumps into that tier 1, but they're still great games. So anyway, this is a huge list of games that I had to consider for Game of the Year, and my personal Game of the Year is on this list somewhere. Obviously, we'll find that out. The next VR Roundtable episode, you'll be able to find that out. And then, of course, later on next week, I will do some more Game of the Year stuff and get into more categories and stuff like that. Alrighty, guys, so that's pretty much going to go ahead and do it for this episode. This is episode 59. It is Friday, December 22nd. That's going to go ahead and do it. Once again, we will have a show Christmas Day, but it will be taped in advance. I'm going to cover the 3 major platforms and kind of give you guys an idea of what is going on with each of the 3 major platforms in 2017 and moving in towards 2018. So definitely look forward to that, but that's going to do it. Everybody have a wonderful Christmas weekend. Have a wonderful Christmas day, and stay safe and enjoy yourselves, and I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy. Later.